Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll pass through here. Okay, you can start if you want.
Okay. So welcome everyone to our nearly last session of the Zero Project Conference. I'm Helle DEERTZ, working at GIZ in a project that is based in Yemen, but I'm working from Germany, and it's also towards emergency situations because the situation of the war, which is ongoing in Yemen, and I'm working there as an inclusion advisor for the persons with disabilities and yes, the inner displaced persons. And as you already have seen, the topic that we are facing today, so climate change, food scarcity and emergency situations, we are living in this decade, so it's really affected us every day. You've seen so many projects yesterday with the Purple West, for example, and so we try to cover here today these three topics, so really a variety of topics, but that have many interlinkages. And yes, and I just wanted to tell you 1 second a story that we were also facing in emergency situations right here at the conference today. Because what has happened, a Bolivian woman came to me saying, yeah, my wheelchair is broken, and Helle, I don't know what to do now, and I can't speak German, so can you help me because you know Spanish? So that's really also an emergency situation in another case, but just to say that emergency situations could be everywhere around here. So an interesting situation we're facing here, because on my left there's sitting the Hsiang-Chieh LEE. I hope I pronounced it the correct way. And that's not the only presenter, because we have a variety of presenters today here with different, coming from different countries, from India, from Taiwan, from Thailand, from Switzerland, and from Italy. And yes, I'm very happy that they will join online today. Please, if you have any question, keep them in mind, and afterwards, after the presentation in the last couple of minutes of our session, we have a Q&A session, and I will catch up your questions in the audience that you have and that you also have for the panelists. So, yeah. And yes, that leads me to the to welcome the panelists online, because we would like to start with the Selco Foundation. Shahaab JAVERI, which is the senior program manager there, and a really warm welcome to Shahaab JAVERI and all the other panelists online. But we will start with Mr. JAVERI. So please, the floor is yours. I hope that connection is holding on. Hi, could you hear us and could you speak, just that we can understand you?
I can hear you very well.
Perfectly, me too. Okay,
I can hear myself as well.
Yeah, go ahead, present yourself, and really a warm welcome to our Zero Project Conference. And yeah, it's a pity that you can't join us in presence, but the more we will have a private discussion online with you. So go ahead, it's you have 5 minutes to present. Go ahead.
Thank you, Hari. Thank you. No, thank you to the Zero Project Conference as well, and to all my fellow panelists. This is indeed a wonderful opportunity to present at a wonderful conference. My name is Shahaab, and I work at the Selco Foundation. I'm based out of Bangalore in the south of India. But right now I'm traveling for work. I'm in the northeast of India, one of the most vulnerable regions in terms of climate change in some ways in India. And what I'm going to try to do, the slides come up. Uh, the topic that we have at hand is includes a lot of different subjects. There's climate change. We're talking about our food systems, livelihoods and incomes of people, and all of this against the backdrop of people with disabilities and their communities. What I'm going to try to do is draw an interlinkage between all of this through this presentation. I hope that my slides are visible because I can't see them.
We cannot
Could
see them
somebody
either. I'm sorry. Could the technicians please take care of this? And if it's not functioning, just go ahead speaking.
Sure. So like I said, what I'm going to try and do is draw an interlinkage between all of these different subjects, climate change, food systems, livelihoods and incomes. But I think that the first question that comes to mind is, why do we even draw an interlinkage between all of this? We think that this interlinkage is really important. In percentage terms, it might appear less, but in real numbers, the numbers of people with disability in India are pretty high, about 20 million, and surprisingly so, or not surprisingly so, 69% of these people live in rural areas in India. A large part of India draws their incomes from agriculture. Is it okay if I share my screen?
Yes, I think so.
Is it visible now?
It's too small, but please just go ahead. Yeah, now we can see it better. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, now we can see it.
So like I was saying, that agriculture is really important to India. It's a large part of our economy is drawn from agriculture. A large number of people depend on agriculture. But the sad thing is that agriculture globally is not very clean, and it contributes a lot to climate change, and vice versa. So climate change also affects agriculture a lot. It affects our food systems greatly. Agriculture is one of our biggest polluters. 20% of our GHG emissions come from agriculture. This doesn't even include what agriculture is doing to our soil today, what it's doing to our water tables. Overall, whether we speak of it from an emissions perspective, an energy perspective, or land use perspective, agriculture is not doing too well. Moreover, as our populations rise, food demand is going to increase. So we can only imagine what this is going to do to climate change as we keep growing more food unsustainably. This was at a macro.
You have 1 minute left. Sorry to interrupt you.
At the grassroots level, this is not really helping small farmers at all. Small farmers are the worst affected by climate change, and this includes a lot of the communities where people with disability in rural areas come from. What our food systems largely look like is something like this. So you have the grains in their full form, and then there's a lot of farming activities that take place. So there's a lot of different tasks to do on field, and then all of that is harvested into grains and then processed in some way when we eat our food. All of this together forms the food system. And what we've been trying to articulate is that all of this food system as a whole is not very inclusive, not for small and marginal farmers in any case, and not for people with disability more so over. But can we reimagine some of these food systems? So I'm going to take an example of a very popular food in India, which is a roti or a chapati, as many of you might know it, and what we've been trying to do. So over time, in the last 6 years, we've been working with women that come from small and marginal farming backgrounds, and we've been working with these solar-powered machines by which they can make these rotis at home, take an active role in the food system, and make an income through it. And we've worked with over 2,000 of these women in India. But then, while we try to make these machines as inclusive as possible, could you imagine that a person with disability is able to use a machine like this to actively take part in a green food system using machines like this and sort of increasing your incomes? At the first level, one might think no, but can we design solutions for livelihoods that are a bit different? That's what Selco tried to do. We sort of took the same machine and we tried to modify it. We worked with a lot of people with disabilities, with our partners like Enable India in India, and try to change up this machine a little bit to work with people with disabilities, where we keep trying to reimagine some of these technologies that can be more useful for livelihood generation, as well as introduce, make people with disabilities a more active role in our food systems and make our food systems more inclusive. So these are just a few examples of how we've been designing new products, and what we're trying to say is that there's so many different technologies. This is a entire dairy value chain. We can have n number of inclusive tech throughout this dairy value chain. This is one of the end users that we work with, who is using a solar-powered milking machine to milk a cow, and he earns his living through it, all the more and taking an active role in our food system. But can we re-look at some of these designs so that they're more easy to use and useful for people with disabilities, of different types of disabilities? That was all, and I'm sorry for going over time, but thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. JAVERI. It was very interesting, and now we also have seen that really there are so many interlinkages between climate change and food scarcity. And if you have more questions to Shahaab JAVERI, you can raise them later. From this presentation, we are now going to another country, to Taiwan, and I'm very happy that I'm sitting here on my left, Hsiang-Chieh LEE, which is from the National Science and Technology Center for Disaster Reduction, and she is the division head there. And yeah, so welcome. It's your turn.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm come from Taiwan. My center was established based on the Disaster Prevention and Protect Act in Taiwan. And in Taiwan, we have high risk of typhoon and earthquake. So we begin to more active after a very big earthquake in 1999 in developing the disaster preparedness system. But people with disabilities are often left out. And until these 4 years, the national policy began to focus on this issue. So this is why my organization began to develop the handbook for the people with disabilities. And now we have 3 handbooks. One, I bring 2 hard copies here. One for mobility, one for hearing, and one for visual impairment. And all of these products are cooperative products between the government, which is us, and also the civil society, because we interviewed many NGOs and people with disabilities and hear their voices and contribute the content of the handbooks. 2 of the handbooks here, we presented them in the form of a perpetual calendar to make it more interesting and fun, and which means that we have all the information and divided them into 31 pages. So everyone can learn a little bit information every day, not overloaded, and then after a month, you finish the whole handbook. And then if you want to review it, you can do it the next month. And for the handbook for visual impairment, we put it in the form of a Braille book. We have a lot of users for the handbooks. The National Taiwan Library is the leading library for collection for people with disabilities. And the librarian told us that because the cost of Braille book is very high in Taiwan. So for people who prefer to learn knowledge by reading Braille book, they don't have many choices. And this is why we choose this format, because they also have the right to learn. And we also have Ministry of Education distribute all the handbooks to all special schools in Taiwan. And we have National Fire Agency, local government, and the leading science education center in Taiwan use our handbook for their activities. Now we already distributed the handbook to more than 300 NGOs, schools, community organizations, and more than 3,500 families. And on this page, in the middle part of this page, I put a photo of a Facebook celebrity with hearing impairment. She shared with her readers about her contribution to the handbooks. Here is one-page example about what we cover in the handbook. We have one page teach people how to protect themselves during earthquake. And many countries borrow the idea from the USA about how to protect yourself. We also borrow it, but we kind of revise it based on the feedback from people with disability. For example, we suggest that if you could not drop down to the knees, you can just sit down on a sturdy object, and don't sit on your walkers because it's dangerous. And we also provide a scenario that if you have gone to the bed at night, what you could do during an earthquake. We invited a lot of people to do the exercise. And we find that according to different disability situations, the posture to protect yourself will be very different. And we also did some experiments. So we find that lock your chair, wheelchair, and bend over if you could during an earthquake are very important. And also we find that it's the safest for the assistant to hold the wheelchair from the behind. Because we already have a lot of users, so our next step basically is based on the feedback from the users, including we try to put all the information on an accessible website, and we try to make a set of situation card help people to learn the drills. And we also try to invite more people actively involved in the disaster drill. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think this example really shows the reason why you are also with your center and an award winner of the Zero Project conference. So again, congratulations. It's really a good example. And if you would have a look on the handbook, then you can later talk to her. I'm pretty sure, and she can show you the handbook which she has here on the table. Okay, so let's go to another country now. Let's switch to Thailand, and I welcome here the manager of the community development of the Asia Pacific Development Center on Disability. Mr., and I hope I pronounce it right, Somchai RUNGSILP, it's your turn now. We see you. That's great. Perfect technique. Yes, please go ahead. I hope that we can hear you. Try a word to.
Okay.
Yeah, perfectly.
Okay. Thank you, Helle. Thank you to Zero Project. You hear me?
We hear you very well. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So my name is Somchai RUNGSILP. You are right. Pronunciation of my name. I am from Asia Pacific Development Center on Disability, in short APCD. So I will have a very brief presenting on the project Improving Self-Reliance of Thai Self-Advocates with Intellectual Disability and their families during and after the COVID-19. Next, please. Next slide, please. So I have the four main topics. The first one is the background. The background of the project. And next is the method and process. The third topic is about the results. And the last topic is the recommendations Next, please. So the background is during 2020 until 2022, we have a worldwide pandemic. So all people, including persons with intellectual disability and their families, struggle to get the good nutrition, have the difficult time to have a regular physical exercise, and could not live independently. So we implement the project in Thailand because we cannot go out other countries. So we live in Thailand and we conduct the project in Thailand. During the February 2021 until May 2022 in Thailand. The project was supported by UNSCAP. Next, please. So the goal of the project is to empower persons with intellectual disability and their families with the skills to lead healthy, food secure, and independent lives during the pandemic and beyond. The purpose of the project is, as I mentioned, next please, come to the second topic about our method and process. We utilize the triangle collaboration strategy aimed to enhance the rights of persons with intellectual disability and other developmental disability via the effective collaboration among three main parties. The first party is the self-advocate with intellectual disability. The second is their families, parents. The third is the supporters, which include volunteers, staff of organizations, or teachers, or even the professional. Next, please. So we are in three main areas. The first area about self-advocates, the project could expect to have the individuals with intellectual disability are able to speak up and assert for their rights. In terms of the food security, we expect that the participants would access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. Lastly, about the health promotion, we identify that the project aim to promote the physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Next, please. So, 6 main activities include the first, we select the potential participants from the self-advocate group in Bangkok and in Chiang Mai province, the north of Thailand. We have several online meetings because we cannot have on-site meetings. So the first period of the project, we have the online meetings several times. We have a field surveys. So our staff will go to survey the place for the training. And then at the end of the project, we could conduct the two on-site in-person training for both groups, group of Bangkok and group of Chiang Mai province. And we have a follow-up workshop in Bangkok, which is the on-site workshop. Lastly, we have the online meeting to share our lesson learned to stakeholders of the project. Next, please.
You're slightly running out of time, just to remember you.
Okay, the third topic is about the result. I finish soon. The capacity increasing in terms of the healthy, food secure, and independent life, and also empowering through the triangle collaboration strategy, with particularly women with intellectual disability and the divorce matters of persons with disability. And we believe that the project could aim to the self-independence of the person with intellectual disability. Next, please. The last recommendation. Sorry, please. The slide, please come one slide, please. Come back to previous slide, please. Okay, no. Next, please, next. Oh yes. Recommendation, 4 main recommendations. The first one, we like to continue the disseminate the knowledge and best practice of the project. Second is endorse the Triangle collaboration strategy. The third recommendation is about extend the opportunities from Thailand to other countries in Mekong sub-region, including Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, Myanmar, and Asia Pacific region. And lastly, strongly commit and actively engage all stakeholders, including individuals with intellectual disability, to regain their confidence within their communities and families. Okay, last slide, please. This is only the picture of the activities. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I finished.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. RUNGSILP. And I think later on, perhaps there are more questions, because of course the COVID situation is really also kind of emergency situation and a pandemic which really has affected many of us, and particularly persons with disabilities, and particularly the persons with intellectual disabilities, which you have tackled in your interesting activity. So thank you so much, and without further ado, I will hand over to Switzerland, now another country. We are going around the world today, to Juergen MENZE. He's working in the International Labour Organization, ILO, and working there as a disability inclusion officer. And yeah, so we can see you already. That's great.
Great.
I hope that we can hear you.
I hope you can also hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you very well.
Perfect.
So welcome.
Thanks so much, Helle. I'm not sure if my slides will come up, but I'm happy to start already. I'm a middle-aged white man with a beard.
They are up. You can start.
Perfect. Great. So just after my physical self-description, happy to be connected online, though until yesterday evening I was actually still in Vienna. Now, as Helle said, I work for the International Labour Organization. For those who might not know it, it's a specialized agency of the United Nations for the world of work. And my role in the International Labour Organization is the inclusion of persons with disabilities. And our mandate is promoting decent work for all, and that, of course, includes people with disabilities. Now, what happens when we talk about work, or the world of work, employment, and climate change, or the green economy? We can, of course, approach it from two angles: the crisis, the climate crisis, which forces us to think about and implement a better, greener economy. Now, what are the current effects, or what do we see are the effects of the climate crisis on the world of work? Not sure if that comes up on the slides. I trust that's going well. Anyway, so we see that, of course, very
you
many,
always have to say that you want to next slide.
Effects.
Okay.
I will say so. Yeah, thanks. There are, of course, very many negative effects on the world of work, as on the whole world. And some examples are that the jobs are lost. The productivity of workers is also decreasing. For example, through heat stress. Also, damage to business assets is happening. When you think about natural catastrophes, flooding, for example, occupational death, injuries, all of that, of course, very negative for people at a very human level, but also for the labor markets and the world of work. And all of this is more pronounced for people and workers with disabilities. As we know, they are marginalized throughout the world and also in the world of work. And when it comes to climate action, climate crisis, and green economy, we see that pattern again. Now, the challenge is that though we are aware of response and the reaction to the climate crisis, also including in the world of work. How did the world of work react to the climate crisis, and how do we make sure people with disabilities are not again forgotten in this endeavor? So in the ILO, we talk about it just transition. And just means that it's, well, the transition, of course, sorry if I try to refer to from a high carbon economy to the low carbon to a greener economy. That needs to happen because there's also the slogan, no jobs on a dead planet. So that is basically, well, needed for the survival of our species, but also for the survival of some kind of economic model that should provide us some prosperity in the future. So going to a lower carbon economy, but also that nobody's left behind, right? It cannot only benefit those who are already benefiting or are at the top of the pyramid. It needs to include everybody, and that, of course, aligned with the SDG framework, the Sustainable Development Goals. And since people with disabilities are among the most marginalized groups in general, including in the labor market, we need to pay particular attention to their inclusion. Next slide, please. So after a bit of a grim picture, thinking about what do we see as opportunity, or what needs to be done, basically. I mean, there is, of course, nobody wants to have the crisis. At the same time, it's there, and we need to do the best with it, so to say. Now, ILO, my organization, estimates that in the end, by 2030, a transition to a greener economy can create 18 million new jobs overall. Of course, we're losing many jobs. I mentioned jobs are lost. At the same time, new industries come up, new jobs are created, and overall it is estimated, it's a guesstimate, I would say, 18 million new jobs. But what needs to happen that these 18 million new jobs, or be it 10 or 20 million, whatever, the concrete number doesn't really matter so much, but how do we ensure that people with disabilities, job seekers with disabilities, get their fair share of these newly created green jobs, as we can also call them? And one part, essential part of that is, of course, addressing the supply side of the labor market. This means making sure that people with disabilities are employable, getting the right skills that are needed in these green jobs, in the green economy. And that needs to happen, of course, in mainstream training, not segregated as we still sometimes see. No, it needs those institutions, vocational training centers, any training initiatives that are mainstream and provide skills for anybody need also then to be accessible, inclusive of trainees with disabilities. And that, of course, still requires a lot of work, making sure people with disabilities are trained alongside people without disabilities, of course, taking into account accessibility, reasonable accommodation. So that's the supply side, making sure people with disabilities acquire the green skills needed for a greener economy. On the demand side, we, of course, also need to make sure that companies, employers are willing and able to recruit and employ people with disabilities. In the ILO, we are spearheading that through the ILO Global Business and Disability Network. It comprises 36 multinational companies and more than 30 national business and disability networks. The whole idea is to raise awareness about the business benefits of being more diverse and inclusive as a company, including people with disabilities. Next slide, please.
Juergen, sorry, but you have to come to an end.
I will. Okay. Good. Very quickly, yeah. So I talked about training and employers, but I think government obviously has a key role to play. I just want to say, when governments design their national strategies to cut emissions and to move to a green economy, people with disabilities need to be mentioned. Public employment services need to be inclusive of persons with disabilities. That's a government responsibility. We need to see that social protection schemes, which have shown also in the COVID pandemic to have been quite effective in some countries, that they are also used in a just transition to green economy and protect marginalized groups, including people with disabilities in this process. And we need the data. Without data, and I think yesterday was a great session on data in the Zero Project Conference, we need to have the data to really design the policies that are effective. And I think I'm almost at the end. Helle, if we can just move to the second last slide and then the last slide, just to say, in the ILO, we haven't been sleeping. We have produced 2 key documents in this area. one last year, just before COP in Egypt, and one in 2019, where we look at the nexus of disability rights, employment, and green economy. And last point is that ILO, as part of the United Nations system, is teaming up with other UN entities. Here on the slide, mentioning UNDP, so the development program, but also the human rights organization, working together with funding by the Partnership on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities to see how this actually works. How can we make sure that people with disabilities are not forgotten in the climate crisis response, targeting the most vulnerable countries also, especially also in sub-Saharan Africa. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. That was really great, and you see already it's very difficult in this short time to have this different topics all on stage, and not because we could talk about hours of these different topics. Yeah, nevertheless, there is the next presenter. Now we go from Switzerland to Italy in Europe, and I welcome Giampiero GRIFFO, who is the president of the Educate Italy Network on Disability and Development. And we can already see you, that's great. Let's make a test if we can hear you too. Welcome.
You hear me?
We hear you well. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So I will try to explain you how the person with disability in emergency, that is the result of the impact of the climate change, are vulnerable or become vulnerable. Next, please. I represent, next slide, I represent here the network where I include the Educate and the DPI, Disabled People International. Next, please. As you know, the convention is the standard at the international level, was approved in 95% of the country, and at the same time represent the main issue to respect the human rights of persons with disability. Go ahead, because the question next, because the question is in the person with disability are 1,300,000,000 of persons in the world, and became disabled because barrier, obstacle, and discrimination that leave to participate in equal basis with the other. Next. For that, the convention stress the Article 11 that persons with disability need to be included in the protection during the disaster or risk of humanitarian aids. If we look next, at international level, there are so much action that United Nations, that European Union, that Council of Europe make a document to show how it is possible to include this protection for persons with disability. This action is exactly the application of the convention. Next, please. But what is the real condition? It is evident in the pandemic that we discover that this person not receive the same protection than the other. More was invisible of the activity of the protection in emergency, and receive a treatment that they charge a disproportionate burden of problem at this problem. If we look what's happened for the person that are displaced for the invasion of the Russian Federation in Ukraine, we discovered the same. No data collection, no competence, no accessible tool, as explained a recent European Disability Forum report. Next, please. Because this situation is exactly that this person during the climate change receive a strong negative impact on their life, mostly on the emergency. A report of the United Nations showed that in 2020. Next, please. In this report, we try to understand what's happened at the national level to application of the attention of persons with disability in emergency. Research on the 2011 from the European Disability Forum on the risk of reduction of the impact in the forum of the activity related to the Sendai framework show that practically only 5 countries, up 55 countries investigate, including the legislation and attention of persons with disability in emergency. And only 2 countries, Italy and Serbia, have involved organization of persons with disability in a framework of the civil protection. Next, please. For that, the question is exactly that these persons are not fragile, are not vulnerable. These persons become vulnerable because it's ignored actually at national level in different form in the system to protect in emergency situation. And the Commissioner Helle DEERTZ of the European Commission stressed that this charge produces a really strong burden or problem for persons with disability. Next, please. It's evident that in this framework, we need to include persons with disability, like say, the development, the objective development goal, as in the same time, the Antonio Gutierrez Secretariat include in mainstreaming persons with disability in all activity, in emergency, and in the climate change. Next, please. It's evident that produces a thing that we need to respect the convention. The convention say at the article 3.4 the inclusion of persons with disability in the decision making related to their right. We need to move from a humanitarian approach to human rights approach. Next, please. For that, our action is exactly to introduce a capacity to be resilient in emergency. This resilience means, first of all, include persons with disability in all clusters and intervene practically on the rescue and the capacity of the person involved, that change the tools and permit that this person to be a protagonist of that. Next, please. For this reason, we have developed a project in European Erasmus Plus mobility that involves 4 countries and training of 24 persons with disability in the field of the international cooperation and emergency and humanitarian aid, because we want to involve, as normally we do, this person as junior person, expert in the activity that we do in our project. Next, please.
Could you come to an end, please? Sorry.
It's the last. It's the last. Next. With, the problem is no more persons with disability need to be object of decision of the other. We are the really expert on the field. When we are competent, we introduce innovation. For that, the slogan is a convenience for society, nothing about us without us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Griffo. And as we are running slowly out of time, we have one presenter left, and we go to another continent now, to Africa and to Niger. And that's why I warmly welcome Monsieur Ibrahim Malam Soumaila from CBM, Christopher Blinton Mission. And there he is the technical advisor of the global DDR program. So we can already see you. Let's see if we can hear you as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
thank you, Ellie. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. So, as you said, I'm Ibrahim Sumela from CBM, Christian Blend Mission. So, next slide, please. So, CBM, is a non-profit development organization. As you know, is working around the country in the world. So our vision is that the CBM is to break the cycle of poverty and disability together with the people in developing country. So the objective is to create a world in which people with disability have the same opportunity and the right for everyone to live free from disease and poverty. Next, please. So I'm going to talk about a community-based inclusive risk project. So this is falling inside the initiative, the community-based initiative for development of CBM. And the area of observation of this project is DIFA, which is has border with Lakcha, is in Bakchad, near Nigeria and Chad and Cameroon. So it has a problem of insecurity since 2015 with the Boko Haram group. And also we have some climate related disasters such as flood, desertification, drought, attack from sand dune. So this is the area of the project. Next, please. So the project is intervening in two municipality. So is the municipality is Difa and the Shetemari. So it covered 24 villages. So it has 24 villages. So the aim of the project is that, So the aim of the objective of the project is to strengthen the resilience of the vulnerable group, including people with disability. So we need to have a local disaster risk system to be effective and inclusive. We need also to strengthen the capacity income of the people, especially people with disability, in the terms of putting evaluation, like income generating activities. We also need to have the different system in terms of production to put some production, transformation production for people with disability and the women. So we put an inclusive community early warning and the response system, and this is built from the national system. So the inclusive early warning system is to produce, the objective is to produce the specific information in house life living condition. That's meaning in food security, health, nutrition. Also to produce some early data and indicator in terms of natural resource management and environment, livestock, climate change, and also conflict management. So the member of this thing, they generate the local warning indicator, and also the project map the person with disability in the village. Next, please. So the impact and the success of the project. So the local system has been, for DRR, has been really effective and inclusive. So they set up at the regional level a DRR platform. So we established also two observatory for vulnerability monitoring at the two municipalities, Difa and Shetemari. So we set up also the community-based system early warning and the response at the 20 villages out of the 24. So 21 has been covered with this. So we have also the capacity building of structure at the regional and the departmental level. We produce, in terms of income generating activity, 250% has been touched, including 125% with disability. We established 2 units of processing and the marketing of the local product for women, especially the sesame. Next, please. So the impact of because the project is running from 2019, as it started from 2019 to 2020. So then in 2020, so we have the COVID, and the government now set a national COVID response plan, but it cannot touch everybody. It cannot go down to the people with vulnerability, especially in the village. So in the project, now the CPM and the partner activate what we have with the crisis modifier, so that we can reach, bring the response, bring the emergency response for those people in terms to respond to the COVID. And for this, 500 vulnerable households has been touched because they received the kits, the foods, and wash kits. And out of those things, 162 women with disability has been touched. Next, please.
Could you come to an end, please?
Yeah, this is the end, and what I want to say that the project has really brought to the inclusion of persons with disability in the DRR system. This is the most using, and also it has really promote and contribute to the strengthening of local DRR system. And those indicators now, actually people, members of those communities are using those indicators for food security, climate change, disaster, and others. For example, as now we are in dry season, so the indicator as for now is the price of the food at the local market. So they are looking on this indicator when the price is very high, so they will now give the early warning to the community, to the municipality, the vulnerable survivatory malnutrition, so that the government can come in with subsidies in terms of food, or even to share some food free. So the challenge that project has first really is maybe the security challenge, because due to the restraint of the movement, some staff of the project have some delay in some activities because of this security challenge. Because when they are going out, they have to give their calendar to the security services before they can have a go on. So thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you so much to all the different presenters. I think it's a wide variety of different topics, of different activities, and they all have something in common, which is that we really have to look that we leave no one behind, and that the inclusion of persons with disabilities is ensured in every topic that we are facing here, and even more as we have seen at the whole conference. So before going to the audience, I think you have some questions. I also would like to, shortly to give a discussion question to all the panelists we have here, like in presence and online. So if you're looking at the different activities you have presented, what, to your mind, concerning the panelists now, how are people with disabilities directly and meaningfully engaged in these different activities? So could you give an overall picture of it? What came to your mind? And perhaps is there, because we are really at the end, so if there is some message you really want to give the audience, then you are free to do it now. And may I perhaps start with you, Hsiang-Chieh LEE?
When we do the project, we find that disaster management is not a major concern of people with disabilities in Taiwan. So basically, this is why we try to make things look more fun and interesting. And what we are doing is that we always explain what they really care, because there are a lot of different issues in disaster management. So the page I show you, how to protect yourself during earthquake, is one topic they care very much. And the other is how to build disaster kit to go. So basically, we will, if the person, they don't really have time involved in this activity, we will try to focus on what they really need. And if the person, they are really interested in disaster management, then we will introduce more issues, more detailed issues. But basically, we feel that it's very important that using different ways, different channels to have they involved in disaster drills, disaster exercise, so they can really understand what they need and give feedback to the government when decide the techniques. Okay.
Yeah, thank you so much. When we are going online to our other panelists, is there someone who would like to answer to this question, or to have a message that you want to raise again to our audience online and here in presence?
Here?
Of course, go ahead.
Okay, yes, thank you. So we identify the situation of the COVID-19 limit the person with disability to be independent, and they rely on the not healthy food and live in the unhealthy situation. So we believe the project could lead person with disability, especially intellectual disability, could be independent and can be self-reliant within their family and community, with enjoy the organic farm, exercise, and also have some basic income generation. That's what we like to emphasize. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you.
I can say something?
Of course.
Okay. No, my presentation is very clear. I put exactly the application of the convention. It's very hard to apply convention in the field of the emergency and in the consequences of the climate change. For that, I think we need to be consequences. It's persons with disability that have knowledge and have the capacity to represent their right. For that, I think in all staff that's working in the field of the emergency, of the humanitarian aids, or in the climate change, experts with disability need to be involved, because this is exactly the situation. If you think that in Italy, during the pandemic, there are a professional organization that say we need to exclude from the triage person with disability. That is not possible to be accepted, but because this person have a bad vision about us. I appreciate all the project, but the substance is that we need to involve experts with disability in the field of the all action, all policy that the government of the international community want to do. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much for the strong commitment and strong message.
Can I say something?
Yes, perhaps 1 minute, and then I would like to give the audience also the possibility.
Just to say that for this project, the strategy that we put in is the approach, the participative approach with the OPDs has led down the success of the project, because with the training in DIDRR, in disability inclusive DRR, including the person with disability, has made the person with disability to be part of the community, to see that for the inclusion of them in the community decision-making in terms of DRR. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, looking at the audience for the last minutes of our session here and nearly the end of the conference, unfortunately, is there any question you want to raise? And if so, you are all tired, aren't you? It was such a long conference. So if there's no other question, Juergen, maybe I can come back to you, because we were also talking yesterday. You mentioned the ILO Global Business and Disability Network. And within this network, how do you see the topic of the green jobs for persons with disabilities being addressed? Could you say something towards this, please?
Yeah, with pleasure. Thank you, Helle. And coming, before I try to address your question, just saying that also in the labor market, what I was trying to present about training, government, employers, of course, we also from the ILO side, we push for the meaningful involvement and consultation with persons with disabilities. And in the context of business, for example, because that's more my day job, coordinating the ILO Global Business and Disability Network, is encouraging companies to learn directly from their employees or job seekers, job applicants with disabilities, how to improve their processes and policies. And some companies have what are called employee resource groups on disability, which are a great resource for companies to learn how to do better on disability inclusion and accessibility. In the context now, Helle, your question about the green economy. We have, I think it's clear that all companies will have to think about how they adapt to climate change, climate action, independent of the industry they work in. In our Global Business and Disability Network, we also have energy companies, which are probably in their thinking a bit more advanced about how they have to address the green economy. At the same time, everybody has to adjust. And I think it's clear that also, when you look what is happening, for example, in the European Union, companies will be legally obliged also to report more on how disability rights, human rights in general, and the green economy, environmental action are linked. And so in the Global Business and Disability Network, we're trying to be thought leaders for companies on bringing disability rights, but also climate action together. We're thinking about developing a business-specific publication on the topic, so stay tuned, but definitely it's always on our mind to remind companies this will not go away. We usually work with the disability focal point, so to say, the diversity and inclusion folks in the companies, but we need to make sure that they speak with those in the companies that work on climate action and vice versa, that the climate people speak to those who are in charge of disability inclusion.
Yeah, thank you so much, and I think that was a good closing remark, and I think I would also like to end this panel by saying that really it becomes obvious of this session and also of the other sessions we had at the conference that really it's such a strong message that we really have to fill in with practical activities. So nothing about us without us, and we can't look to each of these different topics of climate change, food scarcity, and emergency situations without making interlinkages between the topics. They are interrelated, and so the persons with disabilities like myself and all the others here in the room and on the world, they really should have a voice and being involved and having participation in all these different activities. And let's try to keep on this work we are doing and not forgetting anyone and not leaving anybody with no one behind. And Yeah, with this, I want to close the session. Thank you very much for all the panelists we have here in presence and online. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the session, and also thank you for being here in this really last minutes of our conference. Yeah, without further ado, I will close it and hand over to the closing ceremony. And have a good afternoon. Shall we make a picture? Mm-hmm.